Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TARDIS Zone Talks. And you know why we're all here. Hashtag justice for Noel Clarke. But before we get into everything, just a disclaimer, obviously, right? So, obviously, when you touch subjects like this, and I have actually touched on the Noel Clarke stuff on this channel, but we do have to put a disclaimer out there. In no way are we saying that victims should not come forward. They should, but in my opinion, they should go to the police instead of going to the media. The guest that I have on tonight has gone out of their way. A member of the public have looked into this and investigated it. Most of you know who he is. If you're on a Twitter or social media, you'll know who he is. For others, I'll bring him on in just a second. But this guy I have worked with before in the past. Actually, we helped expose the Doctor Who feminist front and all of these other um, feminist groups in Doctor Who, and he uncovered a lot of sinister stuff going on behind the scenes. So he's done a similar investigation, and if you want to see what he's done, what he's put together, I've put the link, his WordPress article, in the link description. It is very long. He's even admitted that himself. He was streaming with Gobby Guy earlier today. Again, that link is in that stream is in the link description as well. What we're going to focus on here is the main characters and why this came about and stuff like that. But I'm going to play a little audio before we bring on our guest. I'm going to play a little video for you now, and this is coming from the horse's mouth itself, Noel Clarke. And this is how I'm going to start off the stream. As I said, Gobby had him on earlier and he went into a lot of detail. There was loads of detail. I watched all the way through, but there's just so much, and there's even a lot that John could not get to because it's that there's so much information. But as I said, let the man himself, who has been accused of all of these despicable things, let the man himself talk. And this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to share this. I have it ready to go and all. I'm actually organized this time because I wanted. Look, it's not that I do take other streams seriously, that I do, but this is such a serious topic that, you can't half-arse this. You have to do it properly. So again, what we're saying is there's two sides to a story, okay? And we only heard one side through the media. Now let's hear from the guy himself. This video is a minute and a half, and he threw it up, I think, on Instagram, and then he threw it up on Twitter. So listen to what he has to say, because this sheds a doubt on the Guardian article in a whole. This video itself sheds a whole doubt in that article, and this is why John and others like him that have been defending Noel Clarke, and why John took it upon himself. And I'll give him that. Me and John don't always agree with things. He'll tell you that himself, right? But this was important, and I had to bring him on to discuss it, because if anybody can dig for dirt, it's this guy. Trust me, I've worked with him before. He's an absolute, when it comes to this stuff, he leaves no stone unturned. But let's listen to what Noel Clarke has to say. I just want to make sure that you can see it, so I'll just big screen it. There you go. He's got the full screen there. So as I said, this video is in the link description as well. Gobby Guy's stream is in the link description as well. And so is John's whole investigation. That is in the link description. Everything is in the link description that you need for this stream tonight. So here we go. Here is Noel Clarke himself.
Oh, I want you to remember what was said about me. You know, all these police things that were said about me, more people coming forward to the police, police are investigating this, that, and the other, and then eventually, you know, police have dropped the investigation due to insufficient evidence and all that sort of malarkey. I want you to remember all of that because it gives me crazy PTSD, but that's what was said. But, you know, there's a thing called the Freedom of Information Act. And when you do the Freedom of Information Act, you can request a right of access. So I requested my right of access, which is this bit of paper right here, and the email that comes with it. And basically, my right of access tells me in black and white from the Metropolitan Police that in my 40 odd years, 40 plus years of life, there has never, ever been a complaint or police report made about me, ever, in any way, shape, or form. There's no documents found anywhere on the system where I am named as a person that's complained of or a suspect. So, interesting. So I guess now I was just so evil and manipulative that I did everything that was kind of just under the level of criminality. Or maybe, and I'm just throwing it out there, maybe there's a bit of exaggeration and collusion and embellishment and bullshit. But hey, just saying, there are a lot of bad people in this business. I promise you, I was not one.
There you go. So you heard it from the horse's mouth himself. In the 40 odd years, not one complaint has ever been registered with the police. The Guardian article suggested that alleged victims, had gone to the police. He accessed the Freedom of Information Act and he got the information. He has the piece of paper there in his hands. Obviously, right now, he probably can't say too much. We'll get into that. But he will tell his side of the story. And it's looking like, to me, from an outsider looking at this, I have to say, he mentioned collusion there, and there's a lot of bad people in the business. I would tend to agree with him on that one. But let us bring on our guest, because I've been looking forward to this all day, to be quite honest, after the Gobby Guy stream. And well done to the two of you, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. Gobby again, you know, shedding light on injustices that are happening. As I said, we need more YouTubers to do this. So I would implore, just like Gobby said, you know, if there's any YouTuber out there, you know, could you please cover this situation, because Noel Clarke deserves his justice. Apparently as well, if I'm correct in saying, John Barrowman and himself, it looks like they have made amends. That was said on Gobby Guy's channel. If that's true, that is absolutely brilliant as well, I have to say. I'm absolutely delighted that those two have managed to put whatever behind them, whatever it was, okay? But the thing about it is, there's a lot of people now that were silent that are starting to speak up for Noel Clarke. But one person in particular has been very vocal and has faced a bit of a backlash on Twitter. They tried to cancel Sophia Miles because, as you know, she's been she basically said it out straight. Listen, if you're gonna believe an article all hearsay, well then that's really up to you. But you heard it from Noel's mouth there. There was no investigation ever done. Okay, but let's bring on our guest anyway. It's the one and only John the White. Welcome.
Hello, Noel. Hello, it's a pleasure to be on your channel. It's wonderful to be here, and but also it is, as you very rightly said, this is the most serious subject because this is about a man's whole life.
Exactly.
And obviously you're very wise to put your provisos at the front of this video, and I've got a few of my own that I will also need to make. And I know that we had a limited time frame, So what I'm hoping to do is we will have to cover the basics, as you say. But if we can squeeze a bit of time, I'll try and talk about at least a couple of things I didn't get to talk about in the Gobby stream.
Yeah, if you want to do that, that'll be absolutely fantastic. As I said, you covered a lot on Gobby stream. So if you just want to breeze through what you said on Gobby stream, the main players, and then add then to what you want to add on to that,
Yeah,
that you weren't able
I
to
think
cover on
other
Gobby
things
stream.
I'll try and bring in, so if there is some fresh material in this as well. Running on my provisos to start with, firstly, I really am totally sincere. This is not about me, not in any way whatsoever. I'm just the conduit who put the information together. Right, but this is about Noel Clarke. This is about justice for Noel Clarke. So, I'm not looking for credit. I'm not looking for glory. One of the reasons I put the article on a fresh WordPress account is so that it's not connected to anything else that I've ever done. I'm not looking for subscribers. I'm not looking for patrons. I'm not looking for donations. I'm not monetizing this in any way whatsoever. I'm simply a fan doing what a good fan should do. Applying my abilities to help out a man who is really a beloved part of the Doctor Who family.
Yeah.
Next, I want to make clear that I have no inside sources for this at all. I'm not speaking to anyone behind the scenes. I've certainly never spoken to Noel Clarke. I very much doubt he would know me from Adam in the Street. He doesn't know who I am. I'm not connected to him. This is me looking at the public information, analysing it, and asking legitimate questions. That's what this is.
Yeah.
And that's essential, really, for us as Doctor Who fans, because we have to be able to question this situation now. And the first step is to actually identify what are the questions. So that's what I've focused on doing. As you say, this article is very long. It's 16,000 words.
Yeah, I know when you said that, I was like 16,000
Yeah.
words. Sure, that's short even for John.
Well, you should see what I cut out, But I mean, normally I would say an article is 800 to 1,200 words, a 5 to 10 minute read. I wouldn't normally call this an article, but it's simpler if I do. But really, it's an investigative report. So it is quite a serious document. I did consider breaking it up and releasing it in parts, but I thought if I do that, there's a chance that people will see one part but won't see the others. So it's better that up the front, it's all out, and that people who want to go down the road, who want to really dig into this, who want to follow the route that I've laid out, can get on with it and take things further, perhaps.
Exactly. Yeah. See if there's any more stuff to be to surface, because listening to your stream with Gobby, I was struck by the amount of, well, in particular, this there's one central character to all of this. It's like John. It's like a story, isn't it? It's like
it is. Absolutely, it's like a conspiracy thriller. It really is, and it is incredible how that's worked out. But there, talk about what I put in. You should see what I didn't put in. Because there's a lot more that I felt was just too speculative and was just not solid enough. So there's a lot that I left out. There's a lot of suspicions that I have that I haven't expressed, and I have more than enough material for 2 follow-up articles, one on BAFTA and why they folded like a cheap suit.
I think you should do that.
Oh, I'm sure I will, but for starters, let's get this in. And there's also another article on the whole Who fandom aspect and the 6 accusations that were made later on from within, relating to Noel's work time on Doctor Who, and also what happened with the video with John Barrowman and all of that, and also fandom reaction to it. So there's a lot that I could talk about there too. I will briefly say, I didn't go down that route because that would have made this even bigger. And also, if I make it about John Barrowman as well, I'm taking the focus off analysing that original Guardian article, which is where the focus really does belong.
Yeah.
So that's why I made the decisions that I did. So you won't find the Barrowman stuff discussed at all in this article at all, because it's a separate topic, really.
Yeah, you broke it up. I'm looking at the article there, and I looked at it earlier on. You've broke it up into sections. So you have a section here, can there be justice for Noel, Clarke, and so on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'll
Obviously,
just
the
put the
article is in
article up on
sections.
screen there, folks. But this is how long and this is how much work and dedication that John has actually put into this. As I said, when it comes to this type of work, John is probably one of the best out there. I've no problems actually saying that. As I said, we did our own little investigation in the early days in the fandom, and some of the stuff that he actually uncovered was
Oh, well,
I tell you, it was crazy time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what it's funny, really, what we found out with a feminist group, with a feminist front. You know, there's a group of women who were claiming to be involved in the production of Doctor Who in various ways, who were actively advertising on what, at the time when they were still active, quite large social media accounts, you know, shopping for Me Too accusers to come to them to give them dirt on people within Doctor Who. They were actively looking to do that. And one of the things I found so irresponsible about that group was that they claimed to have accusations that they were going to release, but they were sitting on it. So they were effectively, if what they said was genuine, they were effectively blocking justice for victims, which I didn't agree with whatsoever. The next little proviso I have here is for the audience, for everyone listening now. I want to recruit you. Because, as I say, if it isn't about me, it's about all of us as Doctor Who fans standing up for Noel and trying to get some justice for him. And I don't want people to just share my content, partly because it's shadow banned to heck. So if people just take the WordPress link, put their heads above the parapets, and just put that article out, make as many different tweets as you like, because if you've got, even if you make a tweet or a post on Facebook or whatever you've got, and it's only seen by a few people, that's a few more people going back to the article and getting a chance to read the investigation for themselves. And if we had a thousand posts like that, way more effective than any one post I could make could ever possibly be. So I really want to challenge everybody to challenge themselves to just do that. Just help get this article shared anywhere you can. Final proviso, and this is so important, I do not approach any of these people and in any way harass them, harangue them, insult them, do anything like that whatsoever, because that is absolutely the last thing that Noel Clarke needs.
Yeah, it wouldn't help his
To give
position.
these people a fresh victim
Exactly.
narrative. So please don't do it. Show restraint. If you do find yourself engaged with them, keep it very, very civil. And
I just showed you how long that article actually is. So he's gone into a lot of detail there, but it's there for you to read. Look, it'll be a nice time. The best time to probably read it is an hour before you go to bed, maybe, and read it, and then it'll be when you go to sleep. It'll be on your mind, you know, and then you might get, as John said, might encourage people to investigate themselves. Look, the problem with this fandom, before I let John continue, the problem with this fandom is that two journalists decided that they were going to do this so-called investigation. They wrote an article and they got alleged victims in to give their stories. But unfortunately, the problem that we have there is that when that goes public to the media, right, or goes public to the media, make it go public, what happens? You get everybody on social media, and you've seen what's happened, right? It doesn't matter what evidence is presented to these people now, right? Noel's guilty no matter what. And this is why newspapers and media outlets like the Guardian should be held to account. Johnny Depp case is a perfect example of a woman that goes around and defames the character of a guy. And look what happened to him. He got cancelled, but yeah, he's the victim, right? And it looks like in this case, from what I heard from today's stream and what John's gonna go into, questions need to be asked. And these journalists, in my opinion, should face consequences by the actual people that they work for. I think so, that they work freelance as well. But there should be some sort of fine, because there should be an example set. You cannot go out and accuse someone in an article, put an article together and say that someone is a suspected predator. He is not. I can't. You have to be careful what you say on YouTube, especially when you're monetized nowadays.
Well,
So
there has to be consequences when allegations don't stand up.
Exactly.
You know, absolutely. There really does. And I think it's also important to emphasize here that Noel Clarke is seeking justice. He has filed in High Court. He's taking The Guardian, BAFTA, and the publishers of GQ magazine to court for defamation.
Yeah.
But it's important to realize that unfortunately
Takes
also
time.
ties his hands, because he can't present anything that he's looking to use in those cases, because if he does that, he could prejudice those trials.
Exactly. He can actually ruin his own trial.
Unfortunately, the position he's been put in means that, you know, I mean, he must be so frustrated because there must be so much that he wants to say, but he just can't say it. You know, so even for Noel to come out with that 90-second no reports video, you know, I mean, it's so important. I mean, you're so glad you put that up at the front of the stream. I also have bookended the article with that and the link to it, front and the bottom, to make sure that people see it and it's not missed. But of course, unfortunately, I was almost ready to publish this when that happened. So I decided that my own investigation has revealed that no more than 5 people went to the police, one of which turns out to be a man. So no more than 4 women maximum went to the police. And it's The Guardian itself that's admitted that at the end of March this year. So this idea that 26 accusers went down to the police station, it's just not true. And The Guardian itself admits that true. And the way that they also made that statement was they used the word "The Guardian understands" that 5 people. Not The Guardian can verify, not The Guardian can confirm, not definitive factual language, but a vague understand. And you can understand a lot of things, and it doesn't mean you understand them right. So even The Guardian itself is hedging its bets. And, you know, why did it only say 5? Why not 6? Because it can't say 6. Oh, it would say 6.
Yeah.
You know? So the language of journalism, especially when it's trying to steer a narrative in a particular way. And there's another very good point about that. There is a single sentence in the original Guardian article, just a single sentence, that says The Guardian reached out to other people for comment who either wouldn't give a comment or gave a positive view of Noel Clarke. Now, how many people did The Guardian actually talk to in their 3.5-week mad scramble? You know, they've got 20 women accusers, which really isn't 20, as I'll get into breaking down. It's really 14, and I'll demonstrate why in a little bit. But, you know, to get those accusers, they could have gone through dozens or even hundreds of other people who had nothing but good things to say about Noel Clarke. But all of those people are limited and dismissed and categorized by just a single sentence in what, for the newspaper article, was a massive article. So that in itself, you know, says a lot. But of course, cancel culture, you know, and the cost of standing up for your friends, as you know, as Sophia Miles has found out, you know, it is high. You know, I mean, abuse is the least of it. And, you know, it's not surprising that so many people who, if things had been going a bit more calmly, or a bit more measured, probably would have spoken up to support Noel Clarke, ended up staying silent. And that's ironic because the Guardian claimed to be speaking up for silenced people, but in fact, the way that they went about things ended up silencing a lot of people in themselves.
Yeah.
So, isn't that funny how that goes? Now, I do want to be brief. So, those who clicked into the Godby stream earlier will have heard me explain the basis I will set about the investigation. I will skip that, and let's just look at what I found out from analysing the original Guardian article itself.
Just before you do, can I just say though, because you mentioned this on Gobby's stream, and I think it should be mentioned here because I think it's a very important point. So these alleged allegations go back years, but yeah, these two investigative journalists only took 3 weeks to find all of these
3.5 weeks, yes,
like 3.5 weeks for an investigation that's supposed to be that big for as many of those alleged victims that they're supposed to be. It seems very sloppy to me, and not, there's not much talk gone into it.
Well,
And then
the journalists, Sirin Kane and Lucy Osborne, had a feature fluff piece all about how lovely they are, published in GQ magazine in November last year. And of course, as I previously mentioned, Noel Clarke is suing GQ as well as the Guardian and BAFTA, and that's partly because what was said in that article was so very significant. But they talk about they really expose that the whole basis, the reason for doing this was not about getting justice through the law. It was about getting Noel Clarke cancelled because he'd won a lifetime BAFTA. That was the win. That's what they were looking for. And is that acceptable in our society? That can happen, and that these women can then walk away without being challenged on why their stories haven't stacked up as regard to potential crimes. What the heck is really going on? But Lucy Osborne previously did an investigation into sexual abuse in the modelling industry, and she says in that fluff piece she spent 2 years on that. So was it the case that her credibility, having spent 2 years investigating that, was used as a cover for what was really a very slapdash, very quick investigation, which had a hard deadline set to get that article out by the end of April? And why the end of April? Because if more time was allowed to elapse, the public consciousness of Noel Clarke winning that lifetime BAFTA award would fade, and the impact that they hoped to have, especially the impact they hoped to have on BAFTA, would not have been possible.
Yeah.
So, there's agenda on top of agenda feeding this whole thing. So let's talk about that article. It's a very sophisticated piece of writing. It is written by professional journalists, and my eye can see that the lawyers picked over it very fine tooth comb too. But if you don't read it very carefully, it's quite easy to be misled by it, because you think you're reading about one person, but actually you're reading about another. You think you're reading about one time frame, but actually you're reading about another. And the way that they juggle what they're actually talking about was one of the main reasons I needed to deconstruct it to find out exactly who was alleging what, because that was the basis of being able to start questioning it. Now, there are 3 types of accusers in the Guardian's article. There are what I call the direct accusers, which are the women who told their stories using their own legal name. And those are, really the most significant accusations, because when people are prepared to put their name to it, at least it shows some level of seriosity. The second category is anonymized women whose stories are told, but who use a pseudonym to hide their identity. And one of the things I found out was that the Guardian article was actually written so incompetently that it's very easy to identify 2 of those anonymized accusers, and doing so in itself opened up a whole new raft of questions. And finally, there are accusers who are never named and whose stories aren't told. So there's 8 direct accusers, there's 6 anonymized accusers, put that together, that gives you 14. And there's 6 women who we're just told are there. Or, well, we're not even told they're women, we just assume they're women, you know. So why wasn't the Guardian article 14 women accused Noel Clarke? Because that's all that's actually in the Guardian article. But instead it was presented as 20 in the headline, because 20 is a far more dramatic number. And of course, frankly, a lot of people don't get far beyond headlines. So they never even read that article in any detail. They just accepted what was said on face value, because that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, really needed to get digging into all of that and start finding out who these women are. So let's deal with the direct accusers and tell their stories. And the questions that I've been able to raise about them, and from there we'll see how our time goes and what we can fit in.
Yeah.
So the first one is a woman called Gina Powell. Powell is the former producer for Noel Clarke, who worked for him from September 2014 through to March 2017. She was mainly involved in production of Brotherhood, which was the 3rd film in Noel Clarke's Hood trilogy, and she also was assistant producer on another film called Legacy, which is very important because that's where one of the most serious accusations is claimed to have sprung from.
Right.
Powell claimed that Clarke continually harassed her, that he would brag about photo and video material held on a hard drive, but he had naked audition footage featuring another accuser, Johanna James. Powell claims that she told James about this footage in 2017, which apparently came from 4 years previously during an audition for the film Legacy, which, as I mentioned, Powell herself was a producer on. And The Guardian also said he'd spoken to 2 other women who were witnesses to that 2017 conversation. Powell further claims Clarke exposed himself in a car to her, that he groped her in a lift while in Los Angeles in 2015, that she witnessed fellow accuser Philippa Crabb being shouted at in a car, and that she's also part of events that involve the accusations of another accuser, Sin Seltwhite. So on the face of this, Gina Powell is connected to Johanna James, she's connected to Philippa Crabb, she's connected to Sin Seltwhite, and she's by far the most significant primary accuser against Noel Clarke. She very much seems like she's at the center of the web here, you know, and that she's the glue holding the whole narrative together, which of course is why The Guardian put her front and center. But when we think about what The Guardian says, it makes it, if you think about it, it's clear that Powell has been talking against Noel Clarke to people on the quiet for the last 5 years, which is significant because that's exactly the time frame since she lost her job working for Noel Clarke. And The Guardian itself admits that there was a money dispute between Powell and Clarke that marred her exit from the company in 2017. So, you know, straight away, you know, if her main concern was Johanna James and she knew about it, back when she was working on Legacy, she certainly took her sweet time telling James about it and didn't do so until after she'd left the company. So was Johanna James really Gina Powell's top priority? It doesn't seem like it to me. But when we examine this allegation that there was a naked audition video, what we discover is that The Guardian has certainly never seen it.
Yeah.
Johanna James was only told about it. There's no evidence that Powell herself has a copy of it. So the only proof such a video ever existed is Gina Powell's say-so.
Hold on, though, because you did say this, and I want to jump in here, because I think this is a very important point. Again, you mentioned on Gobby Guy's stream, though, and it is a fair point to make. I mean, if that video does truly exist, yeah, and if she had alleged said video, well, the Guardian would still, they would censor the video, but they would definitely put stills up. His career would be finished. It would be ended. It'd be done.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because one of Noel Clarke's key lines of defence is that it didn't happen. All the Guardian has to show is that the video exists, and Noel
And then
Clarke's
it's game
credibility
over.
is smoked.
That's what I mean. It's game over. Then he has no leg to stand on. But the fact is, this
They
video
didn't
has
do
never
it
been
because
produced.
they can't do it. Yeah, because they haven't seen it. They don't have it, if it even exists at all. So it's a huge question mark. But without that video, and obviously with no proof, no clear proof that it existed, and with Johanna James herself clearly never having seen it, Powell's credibility takes a huge knock from that alone. But
can I ask you, because you didn't, I don't know if Gobby asked you this, but do you think, I'm going to ask this question out straight, do you think this is a personal vendetta from a woman that was slighted by Noel Clarke because she'd lost her job? There was a bit of a dispute over pay, and maybe there was something more, if you know what I mean. Maybe,
well, I think,
you know what I mean. Do you think this is?
I would have to say I couldn't say that as a definitive, declarative fact.
Yeah, but it could be a distinct possibility.
Speculation. And in terms of a potential police investigation, when you get people making accusations like this, of course they're going to be looking at, is there any other beef? Because there are false accusations are made, as I pointed out in Gobby's, we're talking to Gobby earlier. There was over 180,000 accusations of sex abuse last year in the UK alone.
Wow.
And if even 1% of those is false reports, that's getting close to 2,000 falsely accused people.
Oh, you get you, yeah.
And there's academic research that suggests the real level of false reports could be anything between 2 to 8%.
What?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yes, there is, absolutely.
Wow.
So, well, look, people tell lies for bad reasons.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm not that naive. So, obviously, the world is, and there are very evil, vindictive people out there. I do know that, and people will lie even to save their own skin. I am aware that does happen, but Jesus Christ, that is a high
when you think about it, it's not that incredible a figure, but it's less. It's less than 1 in 10. Even if it's 8%. But even if it's 1%, it's pretty bad. And I think we can be pretty confident it's probably got to be at least 2. So, that's close to 3,500 false accusations a year. And the police know this. They deal with it. This is reality they deal with when bringing cases and bringing prosecutions and gathering evidence for prosecutions. So, of course, if there is something else in someone's background but creates some animus, some reason to have a grudge, some potential motive to make a false allegation, yeah, of course the police are going to be looking at that, because ultimately, if they're going to mount a case, then they're going to want to put this accuser in court, and they're going to have to be able to stand up to cross-examination by a defence. So, if an accuser is compromised in some way, yeah, I mean that could make a huge difference. But as I say, I couldn't think I could say that as a definitive fact. But the fact that the Guardian itself, in the original article, feels it's necessary to disclose that there has been a money dispute between Powell and Noel Clarke, his company, it's not insignificant. No, it definitely speaks to her overall credibility. So the other things that Powell says, with the exception of claiming to be a witness for Philippa Crabb being shouted at, it's all very much he said, she said. And, it's not...
Well, the article is hearsay. Let's be honest about it. The article in no way is a police report like some of these people on social media are going on. This is not evidence either, by the way, folks, just to point out. This is a lot of hearsay. Now, listen, nobody on this stream is saying, or in the chat is saying that, we're not encouraging. We're encouraging victims to obviously come forward.
100%,
because
100%.
But going to the police is the right way to go about it. You don't go to the media to cancel someone and then What then? So the person's cancelled, but you still haven't got justice. So I don't see the point in trying to cancel someone. Going to the police, and I would encourage any victim of domestic violence or sexual abuse, whether it be man, woman, child, go to the police. Never go to these investigative journalists. They have an agenda, right? I've read up the bios about those two investigative journalists, right? They have done some decent work, but you can tell, just like most of these they're not really journalists, they're propagandists, right? They're agenda driven, right? They don't see, again, even the Guardian article said when they reached out to people, some people had some positive things to say about Noel Clarke. So I would say to the Guardian, well, why didn't you include those? Why didn't you include those for balance? Because the two
to one sentence,
had a clear agenda. That's why. They had a clear agenda. But go ahead, John. That was the last time I'm going to interrupt you. But I wanted to get that.
I won't take that as a promise, though. But you're making good points. I'm very pleased to hear them. I mean, the other thing is that Powell alleges that Clarke exposed himself to her in a car in 2015. But she carried on working for him for a further 2 years.
Right.
And when
that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense because 2015, 2016, then we had all of this. The feminist nonsense was started up way before that, right? So if they were talking about safe spaces and all at that stage, right? So if he did that, right? And I'm not saying he didn't because we don't know. We weren't there. We weren't in the car, right? But why would you go and work with someone that done that for a further 2 years?
And when she did bring a complaint, it was about money, not this bad behaviour. You know, so it doesn't quite sit right with me. There's something there that doesn't feel right. You know, so I could understand very well that police might conclude that Powell was too compromised to be credible. You know, I certainly feel that's strongly possible. And also talking about Me Too. Of course, I dug into Noel Clarke, you know, because Me Too went on. But prior to there was some stuff started to appear a short while before the Guardian article. But before that, the only things being said against Noel Clarke were the accusations of an actor called Adam Deacon, which was talking about Noel Clarke uses you and abandons you, and Noel Clarke speaks against you and tries to wreck your career. There was nothing suggesting any kind of sexual impropriety in any way. Not a whisper, not a rumor.
No, apparently he's very tough.
Me Too at all.
Yeah, apparently he was very tough on set. He screamed at a lot of people. He's admitted that himself. He done another video where he admitted that he's been, you know, he's a bit of a control freak when it comes to his work. But it's his work. It's his, you know, he puts his own production money, his own money into it. You know, these projects mean a lot to him. So, yeah, sometimes if he doesn't like the way things are done, he's going to have a fit. Because you remember, I think people forget in this industry, if you're doing a scene and you screw it up, you know, it's not just as simple as, right, okay, it is as simple as trying to do it again, but that costs money.
Yeah,
it costs money every
absolutely.
time. It's money being drained. It's money being burned. So, yes, he runs a tight ship.
You've got the backers on your back, you know, going, why are you behind schedule? You know, why do you need more money for your budget? You know, I mean, the pressure of producing, you know, and directing is intense. It doesn't excuse bullying per se, but, you know, the idea that there's never an argument on a film set is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I completely agree about that. You know, but yeah, I think it's really significant that Noel Clarke didn't appear on Me Too radar at all. You know, and you would expect there to be something in some web forum somewhere, you know, some dark corner that somebody.
No, you're right. This doesn't just surface straight, just out. Doesn't come out of nowhere. You're right. If you look at the Jimmy Savile situation, for example, there was talks and rumors about him for years before we finally found out the true scale of what he actually had done. But again, you are right. There's always a lead up to this. There's always something that might
There would have
surface.
been.
It doesn't come
I
out
would
of the
expect
blue.
there to be something. Yes, I
Yeah.
really would. I would expect there to be something, and I could not turn it up at all. As I say, that a little bit of it started to turn up just a short while before the Guardian article, but that was really part of the campaign to pressure BAFTA and also his PR agent before the article came out. You know, so there was a sort of three-pronged attack on Noel Clarke, if you like. You know,
Yeah.
they went after his PR agent, they went after BAFTA, and then they went to the Guardian and then used the Guardian as a battering ram to break BAFTA's resolve. It's also, I think, well worth saying that BAFTA's own lawyers warned them that they had insufficient evidence for a suspension.
Yeah. So
And
they're in a bit of trouble now as well at the
oh,
moment.
they are, yes. You know, I mean, because they got panicked and they worried about themselves and how it was all going to make them look, and they threw Noel Clarke under the bus.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Let's get back into some of these
Sure
people
thing.
though that you
Yeah,
are
we need. I
talking
need to
about,
move.
because this
We
is
need
the
to move along as
interesting,
best we
juicy
can.
part.
I do agree. Look, the next one, Johanna James. She's the actor who was supposedly the victim of his naked audition tape. We've covered that. She's never seen it. The only thing she knows about it are what Gina Powell said to her, told her in 2017. She used to have a really positive relationship with both Noel Clarke and his business partner, Jason Mazza. There's loads of evidence for that. You know, they were really chatty and mates all over social media for years. So, you know, and the only thing she has to say against Noel Clarke is that apparently he took a video that she's never seen. But,
Right.
you know,
And again, as I said, if that video existed and this alleged video existed and your woman actually had it, she could actually straight away end all of this conversation that's happening right now
yeah,
on
that
anything
video
that
would end the
Noel Clarke
story. It
said.
really would
But
end the
where is
story.
this video? You know what I mean? That's the question I would ask. If there is a video out there, where is it? Where is it? Because this would kill all arguments that
But
Noel Clarke would
that's
make.
the only thing that Johanna James has to say against Noel Clarke in the original Guardian article. That's it. But Gina Powell told her he had a video of her. So I'll moving on a bit faster. It's Philippa Crabb. She was production runner on Brotherhood in 2015. She alleges genuine bullying behaviour, one of which is also claimed to be witnessed by Gina Powell. She alleges, and more importantly, she alleges that Noel Clarke demanded sexual favours for a part in the film Brotherhood. Now, what I find really difficult about this is that Crabb is saying that Noel Clarke demanded sex favours for being in the movie. She said no, but she still got the part in the movie.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Yeah,
You know,
that doesn't add up. I heard that on Gobby's stream as well, and when you actually said that, I was like, no, that doesn't add up. She easily, if he did that, she easily had a complaint there. She could have went to someone. You know, you don't accept accept a part in a movie. I'm sorry. That I find that one a bit. Yeah, when you said that, I was straight away red flags. There's something not right here.
If her story was that Noel Clarke demanded sexual favours, she refused, and therefore she didn't get a part. That's one story. If her story was Noel Clarke demanded sexual favours, she gave in to him, and she got the part. That's another story. But to say Noel Clarke demanded sexual favours, but I said no, but I still got the part. That does not make sense. It does not make a rational sense. I mean, could it be that Noel Clarke made a pass at her? She said no, and she's misrepresenting it years later. That's possible. You know, it may not have been what it's been characterized as being, or it could just be that it never happened. But it baffles me. But you just read it through quickly. You're reading the Guardian article initially, and you don't click that. You don't really think it. But when you analyse what's being said, it seems nonsensical. The next accuser is a woman called Anna Avramenko, who was an intern on the production of a film called Doghouse in 2008. Her allegation is that Noel Clarke repeatedly tried to kiss her in front of the whole crew, which stands out as it's really the only time anyone's saying that Noel Clarke did something in full view of others. But what I find remarkable, really, is that despite having a whole crew of witnesses, the Guardian couldn't find one to go on the record and support her story. Doesn't mean it isn't true. It's not proof it isn't true.
Again, though,
it certainly weakens it.
It does open up, you know, as you said, the whole point of all of this is like, all of this does, okay, you've got all of that going on, but you have to ask the questions. You mightn't like it, but the questions have to be asked. So if there are, again, there's supposed to be alleged witnesses to this. The Guardian apparently tried to reach out.
Yeah, the Guardian couldn't find any.
So
the next accuser is a woman called Jing Lucy. She's an actor, also something of a writer, I understand, who worked with Clarke on a film called SAS Red Notice. And she claims she had dinner with Clarke on 27th of November 2018, where Clarke was in a rush to finish the meal and very clumsily and arrogantly propositioned her. You know, basically, you'll come back to my place to, you know, to get off, sort of thing. She says she declined. Clarke urged her to keep quiet about it, and the next day sent her an emoji, which I assume must be a shush lips emoji, you know, to say don't say anything. Well, look, I mean, Noel Clarke was a married man. Obviously, if he did proposition her, that would be very distasteful.
Well, that would look bad, and let's not sugarcoat it. That would be for a married man, and if he did tell her to shush it, I mean, look,
but it's not criminal.
That's not criminal behavior, exactly. That's just adultery and being scummy to your wife. But that's not what he's being judged on here.
It's not illegal to have an affair. It's not illegal to proposition a woman, whether you're married or not. You know, these are not crimes. You know, that's basically it's a kind of similar story to Crab in that, you know, Clarke tried it on and she said no. Okay, end of that. But also, what's more significant, perhaps, with Lucy's allegations is that she also is how the Guardian admits that a woman called Emily Hargreaves, who was Noel Clarke's PR agent, was previously being targeted to cancel Noel Clarke because Lucy claimed that she spoke to Hargreaves, told her what Clarke was like, and then later on, you know, tried to get a meeting with Hargreaves to pressure Hargreaves to drop Noel Clarke. Hargreaves' response in the article was that she didn't recall that conversation and she didn't meet Lucy. But it is worth stating that Hargreaves dropped Noel Clarke in the immediate aftermath of the article coming out. So eventually they got what they wanted there. And the next accuser is a woman called Sin Seltlight, who is a film producer, which the Guardian introduces as friends with Gina Powell. So again, Gina Powell coming into the story.
She seems to be the central figure. I know when you were mentioning her on Gobby's stream, and to me, it sounded like she's the queen in the middle of this spider web, and she's weaved this web of alleged victims, and
it certainly gives a strong impression that could be the case. Yes, you know, and there's no doubt that, you know, Gina Powell is like a thread that's weaving through all of these stories. And you know, reminder that the Guardian effectively has admitted that Gina Powell has been agitating against Noel Clarke behind the scenes for the last 5 years.
Yeah, just I've got a super chat there just to read. It's from Digby Strawbridge, £10 super chat. He says, "Keep up the good work. We try our best. We try our best." Thank you for that, though, Digby. Go ahead,
I should quickly explain, because of the I've had to make rearrangements to be able to do this live stream tonight, so I can't actually see the chat. So I wouldn't want to ignore anybody, but you'll have to put up with it. I'm working in the blind here, so that's just
that's grand. Whenever there's an opportunity to stick, if we get another, so I'll stick it in. Don't worry about it. You just keep going anyway.
So we've got Sin Seltlight claims that she met Clarke in July 2015, and that shortly after, she and Gina Powell accepted an invite from Noel Clarke and a friend to attend a UFC mixed martial arts fight in Glasgow with VIP tickets. She then said that at an after party, Clarke slapped her buttocks. She further claims that in the week following that trip, she got an email from Noel Clarke asking if she'd checked her Snapchat, and on it, she found a picture of a penis sent by Clarke. Now, again, language in that article is so very important, because I would think that most people's presumption would have been that that meant that Noel Clarke sent her a picture of his own dick. That's what you'd assume. A man sent me a dick pic. You're going to think that was the man's own dick, But when it comes down to it, you read the language carefully, and the Guardian never says any such thing. The Guardian says she was sent an image of a penis labeled as sent by Clarke.
Yeah.
I'm not into that sort of thing myself. I'm not saying it's respectable, but there is a qualification there that suggests that possibly this is something else. Clarke denies that he slapped her buttocks, but says highly unlikely he would have sent such a picture. But where this gets really bizarre, Noel, is that in the GQ magazine feature on the journalists later on that year, that article starts with them with Syrian Kale telling a story of how she showed that dick pic to a teenager in order to verify that that's what Snapchat looked like in 2015.
Wow.
Now, if I just do a Google search, I put Snapchat 2015 images, right? There are millions. And there are millions of images of DMs. So if you really needed to get visual proof that that's what Snapchat looked like, but as was pointed out by others on the Gobby stream, quite rightly, what about the metadata? How hard would it be to verify that that was a Snapchat account owned by Noel Clarke, but the picture was sent on such a date at such a time? You don't even need to know what a Snapchat DM was supposed to look like. Either that image has got that metadata to verify it, or it does not. You don't need to go showing it to a teenager. And if you show, I don't know how old this alleged teenager was, say 16 or something, that teenager would have been 10, would have been in primary school back in 2015. How are they supposed to know what Snapchat looked like? So it's just bizarre. I can't understand that at all. I can only think that was a bit of a fictitious story just to allow him to squeeze the dick pic in at the start of that GQ feature. Because I can't see how that would be legitimately how journalists would behave.
Yeah.
If they really did behave like that, oh my God, these are investigative journalists and they're showing dick pics to teenagers? And they're supposed to be crusading for justice against sexual predation? That's totally upside down. It really is absolutely upside down. But even if that did happen, even if a picture of whoever's dick it may or may not have been was sent by Clarke to Subway, even if we accepted that as possibly true, without the context of that conversation, we don't know if that was some kind of proposition or a prank taken the wrong way, because these things don't happen in isolation, and women are just capable of taking part in banter as men. So I just got a feeling.
Look,
that
if he sent an alleged picture like that, trust me, he wouldn't have just sent it to one woman throughout his whole time of being.
No, it would be a habit. Yeah, absolutely,
it'd be a habit. So
I agree with you completely about that, Noel. So it's just continues to raise questions, and when I was considering that, a wider question came to my mind, which was that if Noel Clarke is supposed to be this bad man for having such images on his phone, why wouldn't the same apply to Sin Selbright for holding on to that picture for 6 years? You know,
Yeah.
why was she different or better than him? And I mean, it doesn't sit right. But then it makes me think: could any of these accusers' credibility survive transparency for their phones, their emails, and their privileged information? But of course, if this did go to court with a Crown prosecution, the defence would have access to all of that, and then they would be challenged on it on cross-examination. So, you know, there's a lot there that makes me think that this is quite a distorted misrepresentation of what really went on, even with this little story about this trip to Glasgow. You know, but if it's the case that the people accusing Noel Clarke have also engaged in exactly the kind of behaviour they're accusing him of, or have colluded together to make their stories fit together, and if that knowledge became public, the consensus view on whether Noel Clarke is a horrible abuser or a victim of cancel culture would shift so dramatically. So, you know, I just wonder, you know, are these the pure and virginal abused women the Guardian presents them as, or is this really much more of a murky relationship? The next accuser, tricky name this one, Leva Sabalayuskate. I think that's pretty much right. I'll just call her Leva because it's a bit easier. She was production runner on Brotherhood, and at a rap party on December 21st, 2015, she was on the dance floor showing colleagues her abilities as a former gymnast, including doing splits. So it was an office party, you know, just before Christmas, and she was having a really good time.
Yeah.
But she said that the next day she walked into the office and Clarke and others were laughing about a picture of her taken at that party, but it was a quote upskirt photo, which I suppose if you do cartwheels or something, there's a good chance of that. But she grabbed Noel Clarke's phone in a panic. The phone smashed, and Noel Clarke made her go and get it fixed in order to humiliate her. Noel Clarke's response is that the photo was of her doing splits, not upskirt, but it was taken coincidentally, and we weren't deliberately trying to take pictures of her. She was just caught in a picture. But he only joked about showing the picture around. Furthermore, Leva's job was as a production runner, so going to get the phone repaired was just her job. You know, it wasn't any form of humiliation. I mean, the fact that she apparently is the one who broke the phone, you know, it's not relevant. My view on this on the whole is that she's hardly the first person to embarrass themselves at an office party. And she isn't going to be the last. But when you really step back from that, there isn't there which is really conclusive of malice on Noel Clarke's part. You know, you could look at that quite neutrally and say in many ways her own behaviour was the architect of her own feelings of being, you know, put upon, and you know, but she kind of did it to herself in a way. I mean, that's one reading of her accusation. The last named accuser is a woman called Helen Atherton. Now, Atherton is unique amongst all of the accusers, because she is the only person Noel Clarke has apologised to for his behaviour. But again, you've got to read that article really carefully, because I know that a lot of people at the time went, oh, it must be true. Clarke's already apologised to one of them, thinking that the apology was in response to the Guardian's article. But if you read it carefully, you find out that this is about a complaint that was made for and apologised for, and the book was closed on years before. And very simply, it's that Atherton said Noel Clarke complimented her backside and she didn't like it. And that she raised a complaint inside the company, and that it was taken seriously, but Noel Clarke profusely apologised. And crucially, it never happened again. You know, there's no dispute to that, but that is something unique about what Helen Atherton has to say. She is the only person that Noel Clarke has apologised to for bad behaviour. The The rest of her claims are all vigorously denied. The main one is that Noel Clarke violated industry standards for filming nudity, by which she means that a shot was taken where a woman's anus was clearly visible, and such an image, even of a nude scene, could never be used in a film. It would never pass the censor. The Guardian then takes pains to describe the use of nudity in Noel Clarke's projects as gratuitous. But that's a very questionable statement. Who are the Guardian to decide how much nudity in art is or is not appropriate? And, you know, it's very clear that none of the nudity present in any of Noel Clarke's projects broke broadcasting or censorship standards. So, you know, that's a very leading way to describe the nudity in Noel Clarke's films. I mean, who defines what is enough, what is too much? It is very subjective. Atherton claims that multiple people were on set for nude sex scenes. I think by that means that people who weren't supposed to be there, because normally it should be the minimum number of people on set for filming nude scenes. That footage shot cannot be used, for the reason I already mentioned, and that some of the performers, by which she means extras, were sex workers, not actors. Clarke's response in the Guardian article was that the set was closed, everything shot was scripted, there was some leeway for a degree of improvisation, but basically everybody was comfortable with the shooting session at the time. What Noel Clarke didn't directly address is this question of sex workers on sets. But I did some thinking about this. And, you know, extras are hired through agencies. And the film director is not going to be involved with hiring the extras. That's the producer and the producer's staff job. And, you know, and at the same time, you know, nobody makes their living from being a film extra, whether they're a naked film extra or a clothed one. It's a side job. So if somebody did have another job as an escort or something, nobody would ask about that. It would be nobody's business. But even more significantly, who was the producer for Noel Clarke at the time? Oh, Gina Powell.
It all goes back to this central character, as I said. Yeah.
Now, if anybody was involved with hiring sex workers to appear in Noel Clarke's films, it was Gina Powell, not Noel Clarke. There's one last thing that Helen Atherton says, which is really significant, actually, and directly contradicts what's been said by Gina Powell, relating images claimed to be on Noel Clarke's phone. And it's a direct quote. She recalls Clarke showed her naked photographs sent by women to his phone. Not Noel Clarke taking secret, sneaky pictures and keeping them for themselves and, you know, having a little jolly over them, but images freely sent of people's own free will to Noel Clarke. And that is a very different characterization of whatever may or may not have been on Noel Clarke's phone, because I very much doubt that Noel Clarke would agree that he even had these images. But, you know, even if he did, one of his accusers is saying that women sent them to him freely. And you know what? That makes sense to me, because it's Noel Clarke. You know, he's been in Doctor Who. He's made all these films. He was in the #1 rated Sky drama, Bulletproof. You know, he's done so much stuff. You know, what do you think his inbox is like? You know, what kind of fan mail do you think he would get every single day of the week, whether he even looked at it or not? You know, and this is part of the thing that makes the whole thing into a nonsense. Because if Noel Clarke wanted, sex outside of his marriage, he doesn't need to go harassing anybody he works with. He's got more than enough women who would absolutely love to see him. You know, so how does that work? But it's very clear that statement by Atherton directly contradicts the inference about Clarke's motives being made by Powell, and also to an extent since Alpine. So, I mean, fascinating, really, what you get when you question these things. Now, now I'm looking at time because I know we don't have that long. So I did talk about anonymous accusers on Dobby's stream, so people can go and catch that there. I also talked about the two accusers, but I was able to actually identify because of the Guardian's mistakes. One of which was Jamie Winston, who's the daughter of Ray Winston. And her story is basically that she appeared in Kidulthood, but Clarke was trying to kiss her all the time. She didn't like it, so she didn't agree to appear in the sequel, Adulthood. But I wonder, is that really the case, or could there have been other reasons that she didn't want to do the sequel? And if her view of Noel Clarke was really so bad, why did she then appear with Noel Clarke in the film Robin Hood Tax in 2010, along with Bill Nighy and Tom Felton? If she found the guy so despicable, why did she choose to be in a project with him, especially one that was for charity with no pay involved? That doesn't make a lot of sense. But also, when you do uncover that Jamie Winston was one of the anonymized accusers, it then throws under the spotlight her relationship with Adam Deacon. And Adam Deacon is an actor. He used to get on with Noel Clarke really well. They both kind of started their careers together at the same time. But in 2011, Deacon made his own film called Anotherhood, which was basically a comedy pastiche stroke piss take of the two films that Noel Clarke had already made. And that seems to be the point at which Adam Deacon and Noel Clarke really started to fall out. Anotherhood came out in March of 2011, did reasonably well, but in September of 2011, Adam Deacon started to slam Noel Clarke on social media and said that he was actively trying to destroy his career and so forth and so on. Now, Deacon is such a character, good heavens, but he ended up prosecuted in court for sending death threats to Noel Clarke's family. He also got prosecuted for attacking his neighbour with a machete. And his defence was entirely based on cannabis psychosis. And as a result of which, his sentence upon being found guilty was to be forcibly sectioned and committed to a mental health hospital. And during that trial in 2015, all of the stuff that Adam Deacon said against Noel Clarke, he didn't try to defend any of it because, it would have been a credible defense to go, look, I'm out of order, I went too far, but I was so angry because he did this to me. It would at least be mitigating factors. But there was no attempt at that. It was just the dope man. And that seems incredible to me. And then there's another article that came out in 2017 that I talk about in depth, which was a feature article on Adam Deacon. In the GQ article with the journalist Kaelan Osborne, they basically let slip, but the primary source accuser was somebody who had previously had a feature article in The Guardian. And the only person that fits is Adam Deacon. None of the other accusers have had a feature article. So was Adam Deacon actually the originator of this whole thing? I can't know for sure, but he's the only person that we know of who fits as who could have started this whole thing off. So that's also just bizarre. But back in 2015, when he was originally prosecuted, the press coverage and everything else makes it quite clear that his allegations against Clarke were the paranoid delusions of an unwell mind. And I've got every sympathy for people with mental health problems. I really do. But it doesn't excuse bad behaviour, that they might engage in. And in that 2017 feature article, which is trying to sort of say that Adam Deacon's turned over a new leaf and is trying to get away from the mistakes of the past, he admits but what he believed about Clarke was delusional and not true. But then, in the aftermath of the Guardian article in 2021, suddenly Adam Deacon's getting loads of press, and he regurgitates all the stuff he's been saying for years. Now he's trying to claim it's true, and also he's trying to steal the clothes of the Me Too movement in a way, because he says that people with mental health problems should be believed unconditionally as well, which is just absolute nonsense. But when you read the original Guardian article, it's full of Adam Deacon talking points, and I don't believe that's coincidence. So I definitely feel that Deacon was involved in that, and he was certainly spitting furious on social media about Noel Clarke getting the Lifetime Achievement Award. So he had plenty of motive. So it's certainly possible that Adam Deacon is part of his picture, and he also needs to ask questions about what he knew and when he knew them. Where are we? We're just about 10 minutes left. So I think we've not done too bad at giving a picture, but frankly, there is so much here. I mean, I can't pretend otherwise. I've only covered 20%, 30%.
That's what I'm saying. This would look. This is a huge thing, but people have been asking, is your article getting out there and stuff in the chat? So I'll just say, look, he wants everybody to share the article far and wide. Share it in
well, I could tell you that the stats on WordPress are hundreds of reads already, and I certainly believe that number will go a lot higher. But I can't do this alone. I really can't, especially because I'm shadow banned to heck, etc. So if you want there to be justice for Noel Clarke, if you agree with that, if you believe that at the very least the whole thing needs looking at again with a fresh pair of eyes, and that the people who made these accusations should face some tougher questions, then you've got to do what you can to help Noel Clarke out. And do your bit for him as a Doctor Who fan, because we want him back in Doctor Who fandom. We at least Doctor Who fandom should be able to bring Noel Clarke back in from the cold, at least.
Well, he doesn't deserve all the hate he's getting, and in the beginning, as I've openly admitted, I jumped the gun on this myself, and I was saying there's no smoke without fire, but obviously looking into this, listening to Noel and hearing what's come out since, I've been able to see that there's something seriously going on here, and it's something sinister. And the timing of this, you did mention the timing of this Guardian article, and the timing is actually
well, the journalists said it themselves. They had a hard deadline. They had 3.5 weeks. That was it.
Yeah,
and whatever they got by then,
because he was really receiving that BAFTA Lifetime Achievement, so it was vindictive. It was. This article had to be out just before that was going to happen, just so as you
not
said.
Quite right. No, but the award was made. I think about the 10th of April, and the article came out at the end of the month. But it was definitely about getting that decision reversed. And there's another guy called James Krishna Floyd who's involved in this, who put his name to a letter that was sent to BAFTA just at the end of March, telling them that there were allegations against Noel Clarke. But as BAFTA has said, they were told that there were allegations, but there was no evidence to investigate. And that's why the award actually went ahead. But then 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks later, the Guardian, about 3 weeks later, the Guardian article is used as a battering ram to smash BAFTA down to the ground and get them to go back on everything and get them to cancel Noel Clarke and just forget about due process and rights and all the rest of it. I mean, that is what happened. So wow, basically, and we barely scratched the surface of all the things that I turned up in this investigation. Really have. There was so much, and I mean, the Guardian article was overwhelming. I would say that this investigation even more overwhelming. And there's other characters involved in this to talk about. I talked about a guy called Davey Fairbanks on Gobby's stream quite a bit. I've just mentioned James Christian Floyd, but there's also 3 actresses: Chrissy Chong, Mandeep Dillon, and Rosie Day. Have I got time to get into this? Well, maybe not really, but it is worth saying that Chrissy Chong, who, by the way, has had a part in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. She's the granddaughter of Carl Noonien Singh, the security officer. So that's who Chrissy Chong is. She put out a tweet just after the Guardian article came out saying, "If in doubt, trust me, it's true. Why would 20 women put themselves through living their traumas to bring down an actor who isn't even a household name? He's a sexual predator, #stoppable." Dillon replied, "About time, don't at me." Chong replied back, took the words right out of my mouth. And then both of them made identical tweets. "We stand by the women sexually harassed by Noel Clarke. Stoppable, time's up, me too." Okay, look. Chrissy Chong, if in doubt, trust me, it's true. Right? Dillon, "About time, don't at me." Chong took words right out of my mouth. Both of them are saying they knew about this before the Guardian article came out. Right? That's what they're saying. But
so why didn't they speak up sooner then if this was going on?
Not just that. Why haven't they spoken up since? Chong and Dillon, neither of them have said a single word. They've made no allegations against Noel Clarke based on their personal knowledge whatsoever. But yet they say Noel Clarke was the industry's best kept secret. Well, okay, who was keeping that secret? They were.
Because they're just as complicit. Because they would be as complicit as Noel Clarke would be. They would be complicit because they kept silent. And don't give me this, "Oh, he's powerful, we're afraid to come forward." If enough of you came forward, he wouldn't have had a hope in hell, right? But you are complicit in this if you kept that silent for that long. And why haven't you actually spoke about it since? John makes a great point there. Why haven't you spoke about it since?
They've done nothing to help these women, apparently. They've not said a thing. They've not said they've gone to the police. They've not said anything. So apparently they know all this stuff, but they're keeping silent about it. And we're supposed to go, "Trust me." Okay, right? Maybe not, and it's just very, very, very strange. The whole thing is completely bizarre, in fact. And they need to be challenged. They need to be questioned. Chrissy Chong, Mandeep Dillon, why did you do nothing to help these women if what you say is true and what you claim is credible and you are genuine? Why didn't you go to the police? Because only 4 people did. Look, there's 8 women in the Guardian article under their own names, right? So if anyone's going to go to the police, you would think it'd be people who are prepared to put their own names to it, but half of them didn't. At least, if any of them did. Which, as you have a video right at the front, as Noel Clarke's no reports evidence from his Freedom of Information right of access request shows, there's no evidence anyone's ever reported him for anything.
That's what I mean.
This needs serious challenge. It really does. We just can't. It's just not right.
Yeah, we should be challenging it. Noel Clarke obviously is going to do his thing, which he is in the process of doing. But we as fans and we as members of the public out there, a man, by the sounds of it, a man's career has been destroyed on hearsay. Then when you analyse the evidence and the video, and I'll play that clip again, actually, before we leave, because it is the clip to actually end on, and that's that Noel Clarke little video, which John said he was delighted that I played at the start, but I will play it at the end of this stream because it's very look, if you're able to access your own information from the Freedom of Information Act and it comes back and it tells you that there's been zero investigations made against you, then you have to question this
Something doesn't add up.
article.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
you
does
have
not
to
fit
question
together.
that article.
It's really mind blowing that Noel Clarke's come out with that. I mean, I say I was about to publish this, and blimey, that comes on top. But it's questions on top of questions on top of questions. The more you dig into this, the more it unravels. And the idea that just believing what the Guardian said in that one article is the end of the matter, it's absolutely ludicrous. And also, the people who've been trolling Sophia Miles really should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, he actually says that 4 detectives verify this. It's actually I'll actually show you the little thread. I showed you the video, but I'll show you what he wrote over or underneath the actual post, because it's very eye opening, to say the least. But I am surprised, like John, that he has actually came out with this. Now, he was very careful in the video, because you will see in the video as he's waving the paper around, he does put an emoji over it so you can't see it, because obviously he is going to use it, but he's just shown that he actually has evidence. And I think that's what the poor guy is trying to do. He's screaming out for people to listen to him. And now, thanks to John,
And at the
Bobby,
same time,
and
he's
other
limited
people
in
out
what he
there.
can say. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's getting
No,
his
he didn't
voice out
mind.
there now. He's getting his voice out there now, and I would encourage any other YouTuber that has a YouTube channel to cover this, because it needs to be kept in the limelight. And as I said, we will give the man himself the last word.
Well, we must be. Are we close on our time limit here, Noel? Because I know
we're just up now. Yeah, we're just
so I feel like I've said a lot today. I feel like I've said enough, really. I mean, I think everyone gets the point and gets the message, and it really is up to you guys. I've done what I can to give you information, to give you tools, to give you pointers. You go run with it.
That's it.
You go start standing up for Noel Clarke. Start saying we want Noel Clarke back in Doctor Who fandom, and we're not going to accept anything less. And let's make sure that there is justice for Noel Clarke. Is there anything you want to finish with? Are there any comments in the chat that could come up, or anything like that?
Let's see. I'll see if anybody has anything quick to ask. Is there any? Someone just said there, Raymond Williams, innocent until proven guilty. Absolutely. John done good, says a problem being, and everybody's been giving you credit for all of the work that you have done. But as you can see on screen there, no investigation, yeah, no assessment, no complaints, no reports, facts. I waited to post this until it was confirmed by another 4 detectives. So Noel Clarke himself is saying that this was confirmed by 4 other detectives. And as I said, I will give, just before we do actually do this, John, are you appeared on anybody else's channel? Do you want to do any shout outs there? Have you any final words? What would you like people to do?
Because of my technical issues, I've not got any other bookings for this weekend, but I'm sure I should be talking to more people next week. I get the feeling that more people are going to want to have me talk about this. So none at the moment, but the most important thing of all, the WordPress link to the article. That's the thing to shout out.
Yeah, it's in the link description, folks. Remember, I put Gobby Guy's stream that John did where he goes into a lot more detail. But there's a lot more names mentioned. And by the way, just to end this stream, I just want to say that all names that have been mentioned on this stream are actually in the public knowledge, thanks to The Guardian. So no names that were mentioned are all in, basically they're all in the public domain.
Yes, this is a public information investigation.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So basically what I'm trying to say there is, if there's anybody that has a problem with this stream, which I'm sure there will be because you don't look at the evidence, remember, all of these names are public knowledge. In no way have we said that victims should not be believed. Of course, there must be due process, and let the law do their job. In this case, as Noel Clarke is about to discuss to you all again, we will leave on this. Listen to what he says very carefully. I've shown you the top of this tweet. I'll give him the last word. You know where to find me. I'll be back again over the weekend. Have a great weekend. John, thank you again for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Keep up the good work. And
I'll
course,
do my bit, and I really appreciate the chance to talk to everybody. And I hope everyone's found it worthwhile, and I wish everyone the best.
And we hopefully obviously we will see what happens with this, and hopefully there's a positive outcome for Noel Clarke. And we'll just throw this finally up on screen while we're playing this video. Hashtag justice for Noel Clarke. Let's give Noel Clarke the last word of the night. Good night, folks. Thank you for watching. We will see you soon. Have a good one. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and look after yourselves. Bye.
Oh, I want you to remember what was said about me. You know, all these police things that were said about me, more people coming forward to the police, police are investigating this, that, and the other. And then eventually, you know, police have dropped the investigation due to insufficient evidence and all that sort of malarkey. I want you to remember all of that because it gives me crazy PTSD, but that's what was said. But, you know, there's a thing called the Freedom of Information Act. And when you do the Freedom of Information Act, you can request a right of access. So I requested my right of access, which is this bit of paper right here, and the email that comes with it. And basically my right of access tells me in black and white from the Metropolitan Police that in my 40 plus years of life, there has never, ever been a complaint or police report made about me, ever, in any way, shape or form. There's no documents found anywhere on the system where I am named as a person that's complained of or a suspect. So, interesting. So I guess now I was just so evil and manipulative that I did everything that was kind of just under the level of criminality. Or maybe, and I'm just throwing it out there, maybe there's a bit of exaggeration and collusion and embellishment and bullshit. But hey, just saying, there are a lot of bad people in this business. I promise you, I was not one.
And there you go. So I think that's very appropriate end to the stream. So again, as I said to you all, thank you very much for tuning in. Keep this in the public eye. Share that WordPress article by John. Go and check out Guy's stream. He goes into a lot more detail there. And of course, you've seen how long the article is. So well done again, John, for a thorough investigation. I'm pretty sure it's not finished on your end. I know what you're like. You will keep on this. I know what you're like. You're like a hound dog.
You're right.
You'll
You
keep
know
on this.
like.
But
Right.
fair play. That's the one thing I will say about you. I love your determination, and I know you will get down to the bottom of this. But it's important that we play our part. And of course, Gobby did it today. I've done it tonight. I would encourage other YouTubers out there, if you've watched this stream tonight, invite John on, get him to talk about this, get this in the public domain, and let's see what happens in the upcoming, because there's going to be, Noel is going to, obviously, he's in the process, so we're going to see an end game to all of this. So hopefully there's justice done, because this is an injustice. Good night, folks. Have a good one. I'll see you all soon. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the dogs outside. There's a couple of dogs have probably clashed there, but screw them. Anyway, have a good one, folks. See you soon. Good night.